You are listening to Smart Women's Dating Podcast, episode number 18. Welcome to Smart Women's Dating Podcast. I am your host, certified life coach Lærke Nielsen, and I help smart, independent women attract the love they deeply desire without having to chase or settle. This podcast will give you the mindset tools and insights you need to finally crack the code to your love life. Are you ready? Then let's go! Hey there! Welcome back to the podcast. This episode is going to help you so much in your dating journey if you are a woman who doesn't really enjoy dating, who wants to find the man and create the relationship, but who would prefer just to skip the phase of dating. So basically a lot of you, probably the majority of you. Because today is going to be about how to make dating so fun and interesting that you can continue all the way until you meet Mr. Right. In other words, no settling or compromising or taking long breaks from dating. I will share with you what it means to have what I call a discovery mindset and why this is an approach that you will want to adopt in your dating life. This is all about finding a way to enjoy dating and enjoy having many dates, because this is going to be the key for you to find love. First, I will share with you the two biggest obstacles that I see for many women when they start dating, and why this makes them either stop dating or settle with someone they don't feel that passionate about. And then I'm going to explain what it actually means to have a discovery mindset and why this can help you overcome those two obstacles. And I'll give you some concrete inspiration to how you can adopt this mindset. But let's start with looking at the two obstacles. And the first one is, we think we're supposed to find Mr. Right within the first maybe 10 dates. And anything else is not normal. That if it doesn't happen, it's evidence that it's not working. And the second one is, we don't actually enjoy dating. We don't really want to go on dates. We'd rather skip the dating and go straight to the relationship. And this is a problem if you don't enjoy dating. You will come up with all sorts of excuses as to why you're not getting yourself out there. And when you don't get yourself out there, or only maybe 5 to 10 times, there's a high chance that you don't meet him. And the reality is that for a lot of women, dating regularly for maybe 5 or 6 months is what is required to find the right match. This is normal. You have to get yourself out there regularly and get comfortable dating. Because if you, for instance, have only 2 dates in a year, you get way too attached to the outcome of these. With 2 dates in a year, it's got to be really great, right? And it feels super disappointing when it didn't go well. And then it's going to take a long time before you get yourself out there again, because last time it was just so disappointing. Also, you don't get to practice the skills that will eventually allow you to connect with the right man. What I see happening only too often is that when a woman doesn't meet someone interesting within 3 months, for instance, if they have like 10 dates or something like that and none of them were really interesting, they get discouraged and they tell themselves it's not working and I'm never going to find the right man. And this only feeds into the experience that dating sucks. It's not a lot of fun. It's not exciting. You dread going on dates because it feels draining and you almost expect it to be horrible. And you become more and more negative with the men you meet and dating itself. So you go less out, and then you confirm to yourself that finding a man is really, really difficult. And then what also happens is we start looking for reasons outside ourselves. We think we should find Mr. Right among the first 5 to 10 dates, and if it's not the case, it's because we're in the wrong city, or maybe even the wrong country. So I hear women say things like, "Where I live, there are no good men." Oh, but you don't understand, Lærke, because here is different. Men here are not interested in women their own age, or men here are very conservative, and so on. And I hear this all the time. This is the most frequent argument for why someone is struggling in their love life. And it's not only expat women who say this. Basically, every single woman I talk to has a story about how it's particularly difficult in her city. But we also look for reasons inside ourselves, except it's usually the wrong ones. We don't look for mindset, we look more for the shitty thoughts about not being good enough, not being attractive enough, or pretty enough, or young enough, and so on. When the real reason you are not finding love is that you are just not putting yourself out there enough. Most of the men you're gonna meet on your dating journey are not right matches for you, and that's okay. You can't fall in love with everyone, it's just not possible. You are going to have to go on many dates. Of course, you could be lucky and run into him early, but in most cases, you will have to go on more than 10 dates, regardless of geography. And if you're not aligned with that, if you think it should happen faster, then your brain is going to offer you all these stories about there being no good men left, all are gone, or you are in the wrong city, or men your age only wants younger women, it's not working, the apps are not working for me, and so on. And then you might decide to completely stop dating, or at least for a while, because then 6 months later, when one of your friends meets a new partner, you feel inspired again and you go back in the apps again, but most likely with the same approach and mindset. And you're expecting dating to suck and you feel discouraged and disappointed from early on again. And this can go on for years. Many of the women I talk to have been single and on and off dated for 4 to 5 years, and when I ask them how many dates they've had in the past 1 year, it's usually between 2 and 4. Because they find it difficult to stay committed when they've been on several dates with men that were not partner potential. But the question is, what if you decided to accept the fact that you're going to have to go on many dates before you meet him? That there's nothing odd or wrong about that, and this is completely normal. And what if I told you that man number 35 is going to be the right match for you? Man number 35, but you can't skip the line, you have to go through the first 34. If this was a fact that you can do nothing about, and you decided to accept that and be 100% aligned with that, then what comes up for you? Now your brain is going to get to work on how to make those 34 dates fun and exciting. And this is where we have to get rid of the belief that a date can only be fun if the other person is fun, that you can only enjoy your date if the guy is interesting. We think that a date is something that just happens to us, and if the guy is boring, it's going to be boring, and it's a ridiculous waste of time. If he isn't someone you want to meet again, you have wasted your evening. So you don't see that you can choose to have a good time on a date even if he isn't fun and interesting. Because there are plenty of ways you can influence a date to be fun, interesting, and a great experience, regardless of the other person. Yes, you heard me right. All the dates we have with men that are not Mr. Right are one big playing field for you to practice dating skills. Practice connecting with a new person. Practice listening and practice asking good questions that make him think in a new way, open up in a new way, and also remember you. It's also a great opportunity for you to learn more about yourself and how you interact with the person that you're meeting for the first time. Even a date of 1 hour or just 1.5 hours has so much potential to be a learning experience that will grow you as a person. So how do you adopt a discovery mindset? How do you make dating so much fun and inspiring that you can go on until you meet the right match? And what do I even mean when I speak about discovery mindset? A discovery mindset is being open to possibility and to the fact that anything can happen. It's to have a curious approach. You are discovering a new person. Try to be curious about the person first of all, and not focus so much on whether he could be your future partner. It's way too early. You want to connect with him and get to know him, and curiosity is your best friend in that process. Be open to being surprised. You can be positively surprised. And you are also discovering yourself in the interaction. So it's also about getting curious about your own thoughts in the process. Decide to learn something from each date. And I would like to challenge you to practice finding something you like about the other person, regardless of whether he is the one. Our brain can easily find the things it doesn't like, and we're very good at quickly judging someone, even on small things. But when you challenge yourself to find something you like, you train your brain in refocusing and finding the positive, which will make the date a better experience for you, regardless of him. I always recommend that you both prepare and evaluate your dates, and it doesn't have to take more than 5 to 10 minutes. We don't have a problem preparing what to wear and makeup and hair and so on, but preparing mentally is not something we necessarily do intentionally. So what you can do before the date is take some time to reflect briefly on this. What is the feeling you want to have going into the date? Do you want to feel open, curious, confident, excited, or something else? And what would you need to focus your mind on to access these feelings? For instance, you could think, anything can happen and I can't wait to find out who this person is. Or, I am becoming really good at dating. Or, I love meeting new people and discovering the connection we can create in a few hours. Those are thoughts that could make you feel open, curious, confident, or even excited. And then you want to ask yourself, what is the best that can happen? We always focus automatically on the worst case, so practice thinking of the best case. If you have a lot of expectations to a specific date and you feel you might be a little bit too attached already, I recommend that you write out half a page about what you would want to happen, all your expectations, write them out. And then rip the paper to pieces and throw it away and be open to the fact that anything can happen. That way you let go of the expectations and you open up to possibility instead. In general, you want to practice curiosity as much as possible, and this prevents you from judging or making a decision about the other person too early. So think about a few questions that you want to ask him, and also think about some fun icebreaker questions that you can use if at some point you feel the conversation isn't flowing naturally. And then think about what you want to share about yourself. And then you can think about maybe 3 topics to discuss, for instance, a book you've read or something you learned recently or something you look forward to. And if you're really into self-development and growth, which you most likely are since you're listening to this podcast, you can also set an intention for the date. You can learn a lot about yourself in dating. It's actually a great possibility for self-development. I give my clients dating challenges. I give them something to focus on or a skill to practice on their dates. And one thing that you could do on your own, for instance, is to observe your inner critic. Pay attention to what happens in that part of your brain during a date. And if at some point you notice that you stop being authentic because of your inner dialogue, this can help you identify triggers that activate your negative self-talk or make old beliefs surface up so you can see them and start working on them. So try to observe your mind as a scientist and notice the thoughts that make you want to not be yourself 100% or thoughts that make you feel discouraged. This can bring you a lot of insight and self-awareness. Another intention you could set is to practice deep listening. Deep listening, what is that? It's listen to understand instead of listen to respond. This has so many advantages. First of all, he is going to feel valued and appreciated when you are really present and listen, and he will feel great in your company, and this might inspire him to open up even more and show you sides of him that he wouldn't otherwise if you both were story-trumping each other to impress each other. You might see sides of him that makes you think that he is actually really interesting after all. And so you want to give yourself a chance to see that side of him, because otherwise you could miss out on a guy that's really great because you just didn't know that, you didn't see that part of him. Being able to be present and listen to understand is such a rare skill. We live in a time of constant notifications and distractions. So if you can become really good at being present and just listen and put your own stories aside for a moment, you are able to give some of the greatest gifts that you can possibly give another human being. And your future partner is going to love you for that. And it doesn't mean you can't talk during the whole date. of course you will want him to listen as well, at least if he's the right one for you. So after the date, you want to evaluate. Challenge yourself to find a learning and answer why this date was an important step in your journey, even if he wasn't someone interesting for you. What did you learn about yourself? What went on in your mind? And what is a skill you practiced? And now, of course, you want to focus on him. Find at least 3 things that you like about the person, or 3 things that you find interesting and unique about him. And remember here, the only question you want to answer about this guy in early stages is if you want to see him one more time. So when you know how to learn something new and enjoy each date, you develop a skill, the skill of making dating enjoyable. And having that skill means that dating will never be a waste of time, and you will feel less attached to the immediate outcome because you know it's not a big deal if you have to go on 10 more dates, because dating is fun. This is a skill that I highly recommend you to develop, and if you want support on how to actually do this, I invite you to book a free consultation call with me so we can see if we're a good fit to work together. And you can go to the link in the show notes, or you can find it on my website, lærkethelovecoach.com, Laerke. This was a brief introduction to the discovery mindset that I really love, and I hope you feel inspired because that's the whole point of it. I will be back next week, and in the meantime, get curious, open up to possibilities, see what you can learn from each date, and have fun and enjoy dating. If you like what you're hearing on this podcast and you want to get support from a coach on your love journey, I invite you to book a free consult call with me. You will find the link in the show notes. And also, don't forget to subscribe, and I would love it if you would rate and review this podcast, and then you'll also help other women find it.